A pleasant good evening to you, and welcome into the PressPros Huddle Show. I'm Bruce Hooley, alongside that handsome devil next to me, Mr. Lyle Sunny. Folks, we are happy to have you along and hoping you will join us for the next, 30, 45, 60 minutes. We'll see how long it goes until we run out of fun, but it's been a while since we've done this, so it should be a while before we run out of fun, Mr. Folks.
It's been a month, yeah. A lot going on with the holidays, of course, and travel.
Mm-hmm.
A fair amount on the road, covering out and about and where we've been going with high school basketball and rescheduled games and things. It's been a jump ball. So I know I've heard from a lot of people who said, "Hey, we missed the show. Missed hearing you guys talk about what's going on," and we appreciate that, of course. But we also appreciate the opportunity to be back tonight and hopefully back on schedule for a while.
Yes, we certainly hope so. And we want to thank our friends at Skynet Internet Services who make Mr. Folk's appearance possible. Without the spinning hourglass, Skynet Internet Services located in Piqua, Ohio, but they service the area in and around Piqua, not just in Miami County.
No, everywhere in Miami, Shelby, Darke, Preble, Logan counties, Clark, Champaign, all Glaze, up in Mercer County, all the places that we call home for PressProsMagazine.com. And again, if you have sketchy internet service, I would urge you to give them a call. Talk to the Grissom brothers, Mike Grissom here and Craig Grissom. Give them a call in Piqua at 773-0098. Again, Skynet Rural Internet in all of those counties and the 9 that I just listed. And they've got solutions that I certainly didn't know of. And I'm out in Hoot Owl country, apparently, where it comes to Wi-Fi. But they fixed me up and made it a lot better for me. And I know they can do it for you. Again, Craig Grissom, Mike Grissom at Skynet Rural Internet in downtown Piqua. Again, the phone number, 937-773-0098. They'll answer.
Fantastic. And we are looking forward to a visit tonight with Marion Local boys coach Kurt Goettemiller. They had a very difficult game on Saturday night against Jackson Center, a matchup of 2 top 10 teams in the state in Division 4. Mr. Folks, you took that one in, and it was one of those special occasions where the coach's son had quite the night.
Well, it was a special night to begin with, and I think when teams like Marion, which I think are 10-3 now, and Jackson Center, which I think that made their record either 13 or 14-1. When those communities like that have good basketball, it's always a special night when you can go out on a Friday and Saturday and watch them. Everybody comes. They get there early. You hear great stories about old teams from the yesteryear and crops being raised and politics and whatever you want to hear in Shelby County. But it was a good basketball game from the standpoint of what you expect from Jackson Center. That team and Scott Elkert plays rugged, suffocating defense, and got a great shooting performance that night from Grant Elkert, his son, who came out, hit 4 of 6 from 3-point range, and hit them at points of the game that really mattered. For instance, in the first period, he was 2 of 3 shooting from range, and it helped them get out to a 4 or 5 point lead, a confident start of the game for them, because Marion's one of those teams you really don't want to fall behind because they play good defense too. They are a big physical team with 2 6'9" anchors down on the low post, and Jack Kanapke, whom you've seen play, and so you know what he's like, and Austin Niekamp, another 6'9" kid that's got skills, can run the court, good offensive range for him. I've seen him knock down shots, from the 15-foot range, the mid-range. So, it was a good game. Grant Elkert hits those shots, and then he hits one in the fourth quarter that kind of gave him the double-digit lead and sort of nailed the lid down on that game. And those people are excited, over Jackson Center basketball, because honestly, the way they play, they're not terribly big. I think 6'3", maybe 6'4". They've got a kid that's that big. But the way they play, and they proved it the other night, it doesn't matter if you're 6'9" inside. It's like Kurt will tell you here in a moment when he comes on. They make it so uncomfortable for
Mhm.
your bigs to get the ball. And that's what they did the other night. They didn't shoot the ball particularly well from range. I think shot in the low 30% probably range for the game. And that's a recipe for disaster when you play Jackson Center.
Okay, so my question would be, can they play that kind of defense in the tournament and not run into problems with officials? Now, you and I have talked before, and I have written before, that officiating in the
Yeah.
tournament in high school basketball is egregiously tilted toward allowing physical play. So maybe Scott Elkert is counting on that. I hearken back to last year's Botkins Tri-Village game, which is a game that should have been played in the 70s or 80s if the officials had protected those big, fast, strong athletes in that game, like Lane Sarver, Carter Plyman, Jacob Plyman, and others. And they did not. And the game was an absolute, rock fight in a mud pit under 50. So maybe Jackson can play like that, and maybe they don't foul. I don't know. You tell me. I've not seen them this year. I've seen them in the past. They really guard, but it's amazing to me that a team that has no appreciable height could frustrate Jack Kanapke and his partner in crime. Is it Austin Niekamp?
Austin Niekamp. Well, they double the ball a lot.
Okay.
You just don't get any free possessions from them. If you do, you're going to sit on the bench. I mean, if you're playing for Scott Elkert and you don't come out and play with that type of personality, on defense, you're going to sit on the bench. It was physical the other night. Yes, it was. And the officials that worked it were from out of the area. In fact, I think they were from the Ironton, Portsmouth area.
Mm-hmm.
I recognized a couple of them immediately because, I've got family and a lot of friends down there, and I'm down there a lot. And they just let them play. There was some big collisions there the other night, and they just said, "Play on, don't flop in our game because we're not going to call that." So I think they can temper the physicality a little bit. I think just the fact that they're athletic as they are, their guards, Nolan Fark and the Jace Mollenauer, the other one, who can both score. They're both athletic. They can move well. They are not afraid to go in and risk getting a foul. And then they've got a couple guys on the bench that they'll bring in. And they all play alike. It's like interchangeable parts. And they've got 3 or 4 good shooters. They proved the other night. I'd never seen Grant Elkert shoot the 3. He comes out the other night, hits 4 of 6 from range, and looked perfectly comfortable in doing it. So, yeah, that's a team. When you play defense that way, remember in 2012, and I invited you to the state tournament in 2012 when they beat Afrocentric in the Division 4 semifinals before losing to Berlin Highland in the finals, which is a team that was 6'7", 6'8", and they just got overmatched size-wise. But they beat Afrocentric in that very same style of basketball by just harassing them for 32 minutes, caused some turnovers. You'll remember they got some easy buckets in transition and hit all their free throws in the last 2 minutes of the game when Afrocentric had to foul them. So, yeah, they're a very capable team. They're going to be a nightmare for people in the tournament.
All right, well, let's run through the latest Ohio High School boys basketball poll in Division I. We've got a couple of our Ohio Capital Conference teams in that we have seen this year, and we'll see again a lot. Olentangy Orange is number 5. Olentangy Liberty is number 8. I've seen them both. I've seen Orange with Mikey McCallum back in the lineup for the first time. I've not seen them at full strength yet, but in Elias Lewis and Mikey McCallum, they've got quite the pair. And Anthony Kalo doing a nice job with Orange. Likewise, Greg Nossaman does a nice job with Olentangy Liberty, a really scrappy team. Alex Oakley, James Hummel are the leaders for Olentangy Liberty. And, of course, at number 9 is your defending Division I state champion, Pickerington Central, off to a 12-5 start. But that is wholly a factor of who Pick Central has played. In Division II, Bishop Reedy, who Steve Blackledge covered for us the other night, Reedy is number 1 in the state. Chaminade Julienne with the former Ohio State signee, now Michigan signee, George Washington III, is number 2 in that poll. You drop down to Division III, and there's the Casstown, the Miami East Vikings from Casstown. They will play host on Friday night to Troy Christian in a matchup of the only real close win that Miami East has this year. They've got one loss to a Division I team. but the only close win they've had was against Troy Christian in a one-possession basketball game. Lutheran East, defending state champ, is number 2. Speaking of physical play, they just beat you to a pulp, and they rarely get called for it. And then Afrocentric with Dalen Swain, the Xavier signee. That breaks my heart to say. Love Dalen Swain. Loved him last year when he played Ottawa Glandorf in the state semifinals. And then we dropped down to Division 4. And there's Richmond Heights. They're on top again. Probably going to shout out the car dealership like they did last year when they won the state championship. Jackson Center is number 2. Russia is number 4. And there's Marion Local and Kurt Goettemiller coming in at number 8.
Yeah, and I mean, it's exciting when you consider those 3 teams, Jackson and Russia. We wrote a piece today on the site because people ask us all the time when you go into the gym, hey, who's the best team you've seen?
Mm-hmm.
It's a good story idea. And we picked 6, the top 6 that I've personally seen this year. Jackson I listed them as number 1. I listed Russia as number 2 because they're almost a mirror image. I think Russia likes to play a more upbeat style of play. But again, they're tough defensively. They got kids that can shoot the ball, and I think the most unique thing about them is they've all played together since like the 5th grade. They're best friends. They hang out together, and they really know each other. They have great instinct for each other on the court. And then, as you said, in Division 4, Marion Local is there with 5, I think listed at 5 and 6. And I think one of the things, and we'll talk about this with Kurt in just a moment, is the fact that they get off to such a late start every year because of football. Mm-hmm. And I don't buy that. What coaches tell me all the time, all we need is a couple of weeks. Well, I don't buy that. I don't believe that. I think it probably does take a good month to shift from motor skills for football to that which it takes for basketball. And I also think, too, that when you play 3 and 4 games a week to catch up with the schedule, like Marion's had to do in some cases, fatigue becomes a factor, even after just like 12 or 13 games. So we'll talk with the coach coming up here a little bit about that. But there's certainly what I consider to be a big – when you get 2 6'9" kids, mm-hmm. as Kurt says, that are skilled,
yes,
and can score down low, and they are. Niekamp and Gapke do have skills. And you get everybody healthy back around them, and you get on a roll and get a little confidence going. That is a physical, dangerous team to play come tournament time.
Well, let's bring in the head coach of the Marion Local Flyers, Kurt Goettemiller. And Kurt, welcome to the show. Thanks for your time tonight. And let's chat a little bit about how you think the season is going for your team. I mean, I know you'd love to have won that game against Jackson Center on the weekend, but there's a lot of season left. You got to get Jaden Mesher back from injury. How do you like the way your team's playing right now?
So far it's been a good year for us. What are we, 10-3, I think, right now, something like that. And, we had a little hiccup last weekend against Jackson Center. But, anytime you play good teams, it kind of exposes your weaknesses in the early and middle parts of the year. And then those are things you can work on as you go throughout the season. And Sonny was mentioning, we're not peaking right now, and I think that's a good thing. We're just trying to get through a run of games. We've got a game tomorrow night against St. Henry. Then we play Friday, Saturday, and then we play Anna next Monday. So we're going to have another 4 games here in 6 days. And we've only had about 2 weeks of full practice, to be honest with you. Those other weeks are chopped up with games. And so we're not peaking right now. We're not really worried about it. We're still undefeated in our league. We have an opportunity to win our league title. And, hopefully when tournament rolls around, that's when everybody wants to be peaking.
Hey, Kurt, I appreciate you taking the time to talk with us tonight. I always enjoy talking basketball with you. You're very gracious with your time, particularly post-game. And I think people would be very interested to hear your scouting report on Jackson on Saturday night, as well as maybe Russia, because the two teams in many respects are mirror images of each other. They do a lot of things the same way. And as I said a moment ago, they got kids that play well together. They've been together for a long time. They don't play football at those two schools. So I think it's unique, the fact that particularly Jackson and Scott, the way they rest on their defense, and whatever comes after that, they'll take it. Tell people a little bit about your characterization.
Well, yeah, Jackson Center, we play a lot of good teams on our schedule, and we go up a lot against a lot of great coaches, but I don't think there's anybody that squeezes more out of their talent than Scott Elkert does. And I've told him that, I know he got his 400th win at our place last year. He squeezes every last ounce out of the talent that he has. And, despite the fact that we had a size advantage, I knew how difficult it was going to be for us in the post. They know how to guard the post. And they seem like they two gap everybody, meaning it looks like they're closing out on shooters when they're really farther away than you think. And then, he gets his kids to just close out with their hands up every single time. They did a great job of just boxing us out. Basically, what he teaches is simplicity and consistency. They are very simple in what they do, and they do everything the right way every time. And that's hard to be as consistent as they are. That's how I would characterize a Scott Elkert-led team. That's what they do, and it's very difficult to beat a team like that. He just relies on simplicity.
Well, and then you got Russia coming up as well. I mean, that's another team that a little bit different cast of characters, but a lot of the same principles that you do when you have to overcome when you play Jackson Center.
Yeah, Russia gets it done a little bit different ways. They're a little bit more offensive minded, where Jackson Center is kind of like us, a little bit more defensive minded. But Russia, man, I've seen them a couple of times. They are really, really talented. They got about 7, 8, 9 kids that they can put on the floor, and they can all score. And that's pretty rare in Division IV.
Yes, it is.
They're super well coached. I taught with Dave Borchers, and they're overcoming his loss. He was a great man. And I know their other coaches really well. And they're fun to watch. It's not going to be a fun to play against them, but I can tell you what, they're a fun team to watch.
Kurt, you've obviously got something that a lot of teams don't have: great size and 2 guys, but you can't win with just that. So talk about the other guys around them. And I know Tate's your point guard, Tate Hess, quarterback on the football team. What do you need out of those other 3 guys to complement Jack and to complement Austin, so that you can take advantage of their size? Because obviously, if you can't score from anywhere but those 2 spots, people are going to double you down there in a post to make life difficult on you and invite you to shoot from the outside.
Yeah, well, obviously Jack's our leading scorer inside. He's doing a good job for us this year. He's getting better game by game. And Austin's still trying to figure it out. He's 6'8", sophomore, super skilled. He's got a lot of skill, but he's a little bit physically weak yet. And he's just trying to figure it out. And he's had some big games for us, and he's had some games where he struggled. And that's just part of a maturation process. We're really excited about him. But as far as our guards go, Tate's definitely our floor general. He's kind of a quiet leader. He runs the point for us, capable of making a shot and getting to the rim. And then Brandon Eink, a senior that played JV as a junior last year. And he's had a great offseason, and he's really had a nice season for us. But the kid that's been out of the lineup here recently has been Jaden Mesher. And Jaden's a basketball-only kid, and we don't get a ton of basketball-only kids in our school. And he's an excellent scorer for us. He's our second leading scorer, and he's been out here with a broken nose the past 4 games, and that really hurt us. Probably, we did pretty well without him in New Bremen with regard to shooting, but the other 3 games we've struggled to shoot the ball. I think we were 1 of 15 against Springfield Shawnee from the 3-point line, and Jackson Center limited our 3-point attempts, even for recovery. So give those teams some credit, but we're hoping to get Jaden back in the lineup soon, and that's really going to help us because, it's pretty obvious when they double down on our post, you got to be able to shoot it.
Yeah.
One of the things I think about when I look at Austin Niekamp, you just mentioned he's a sophomore, is the instincts that you need, the instincts for knowing that you're big and how to play big. It's not just something that you go out and automatically do. That you look around, you're the biggest guy on the court. How do I use that to my advantage? It's something that you start with teaching him. And at some point, that's happened for Jack Kanapke this year. At some point, that's going to happen for Austin Niekamp, the instinct of being big and how to play.
Yeah, no question. And Austin is he's already as a sophomore, he's stuck a ton of time in the game. He plays AAU in the spring and summer, and he works at his game. That's why he has the skill he does. He just has to learn how to use it effectively in the game. And, got young big guys, they, everybody wants them to be great right away when they're 6'8" and 6'9", but we've had big guys in the past too, and it just takes time, and you have to be patient. And we think he has a ton of upside. We're really excited about his future. Jack has shown some of that promise. Jack really took off late in his sophomore year last year, and now he's our main weapon this year. But Austin will get there. It's just a matter of when he gets there. We're really excited about his future as well as a lot of the kids we have.
What kind of offseason did Jack have, and what is Jack's ceiling? What do you foresee might be ahead of him as he, I assume, is going to pursue basketball at the next level?
Well, Jack, he came out of the track season. He's a very good shot and disc thrower, and I know he's going to have some opportunities doing that at the college level as well. But he came out of the track season with a back injury, so he really didn't do anything with us in the summer, which kind of hurt us a little bit. I think he was able to play some AAU in July, and we kind of slowly worked him back in. He decided not to go out for football this year, which gave us an opportunity to work with him in August, September, or not August, but September, October, November. But I think he has an opportunity to play at a Division I, Division II type school. He's a strong kid, man. He goes up against a lot of those kids, and you just look, and he just is physically bigger. It's one thing to be 6'9", but he's thick too. So I think he's going to have an opportunity to play at the Division I or Division II level. And I also think he has an opportunity in track as well, that he could choose that route. So whatever he does, he's going to have some opportunities, I think.
It's been a month since you played St. Mary's, but I was impressed with how well he accounted for himself against Austin Parks. Now, Parks, I think, had 17, 18 points in that game. Jack had 13, but that was he looked like he was very comfortable playing a 6'11" guy that's going to Ohio State next year.
Well, I don't think you're overly comfortable when you're playing Austin Parks. He's a heck of a player, but I would say about that game is he showed that he could compete at a high level, and I think Austin Parks appreciated that he wasn't getting double teamed. We chose to just single him up and try to not let the other guys go off. And unfortunately, we let their shooter get loose a couple times. But that was a fun game. That's one of those games you talk about too, where you just want to play good teams, find out your weaknesses, play against a different style, and you may have to run up against a team with some size like that in the tournament. I thought, that night Jack accounted for himself very well against Austin.
I did too.
What do you think of Austin Parks in terms of what's realistic for him at Ohio State as a freshman? Is he a 5-minute a game guy, or and what do you see his ceiling being?
I saw him play as a sophomore in high school. I got some scrimmage tapes, and I said, "Whoa, this kid's a Big Ten player!" Right away, I just watched it, and I don't want to sound arrogant, but I have a kind of a good feel for where I think kids are going to end up level wise, and he's more than a 5-minute game guy type of guy at Ohio State. I mean, he's going to be a nice contributor for Ohio State.
As a freshman. As a freshman,
yeah. I don't know that I'm not real sure. I would say probably, he's a 10-minute a game guy. Some of it is based on the personnel they already have there. He's going to have to, obviously improve his footwork in terms of guarding defensively, because that's the side of the ball that coaches or fans don't really think about. It's one thing to be able to score and do those types of things, but do you match up with somebody when you're guarding man-to-man? Because most colleges are playing man-to-man. You got to be able to match up. And if he can do that, he can play 10 or 15 minutes a game as a freshman.
The thing I noticed about him is he's very athletic. He moves so well around the court. And when you get to that level, you have to be able to – even Zach Edey at 7'4" and 290 pounds moves very well up and down the court from side to side. And Austin Parks can do that. He very comfortable. And you watched him play last week in the MLK Classic, and I thought he really did a good job against that team from upstate.
I think he's just going to enjoy once he gets out of high school being singled up. And honestly, and we've had big guys in our area, the big guys, they just get the crap beat out of them. There's just no other way to put it. And when we have to play against big guys, we do it too. We beat the heck out of them. That's just the way you have to try to survive it. Right now, he's trying to survive high school just because they double him almost every time he gets the ball. They're super physical, and you subconsciously sometimes feel sorry for the small guy, so you let the small guy get away with it. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying refs do that intentionally, but just that's kind of a subconscious thing. And I think once he gets to Ohio State, he's going to be freed up a lot more. And boy, I'll tell you what, you don't want to let him drop step baseline. You let him drop step baseline, it's good night, Irene, because he's going to dunk on you. And that was the big game plan we had. We were not going to let him spin baseline because there was no help there, and he was just going to dunk it every time.
You talk about competition. You talk about getting to your game on, your peak here to go into the tournament. Tournament draws coming up here in a couple of weeks. You got a real good stretch of games coming up. I was looking at your schedule this afternoon. You mentioned having 4 and 6 games over the next week, but you've got some real good teams that I know that well that are going to be well coached, that those people are going to come after you and give you a tournament-like experience.
Well, we got Fort Laramie on Saturday, non-league. Spencerville, who's got 1 loss the following Saturday. We met them in the district final last year. They're Division III now, which is good for all of us in Division IV. And then we got Russia. That's our other non-league game, and they've got 1 loss. So our non-league schedule's crazy. And then in the league, we still have Coldwater, who's undefeated in our league. Yeah. We've got St. John's at the end of the year, and their freshman sensation, Coach Elwer's son. And they've got 1 loss in the league. So, yeah, we've got a lot of heavyweights here yet, and hopefully that we just we build towards a tournament by playing good teams.
I saw Cameron Elwer the other night, and he may look like a freshman because he doesn't shave yet, but he doesn't play like a freshman.
No, I've got to see him live once and a couple times on film, and he's a fantastic ball player. And it's going to be a nightmare for some of us MAC coaches here in the next 3-4 years, but I know he's earned that too, because I know how hard him and his dad, they work at it. They work it really hard. They're in the gym every morning, and good things happen for people that work really hard. So I think he's earned it. You got to give him a lot of credit.
I agree.
Well, Kurt, it's always fun to have you on and see you, and I look forward to watching your team play. I assume you'll be up at Wapak again this year. I think that's where I had you last year against St. Henry. So
we hope we're at Wapak.
You got some challenging games in between now and then. Maybe I'll see you before that, but it's always great to catch up with you, and we appreciate what you do at Marion Local.
Well, Bruce and Sonny, I think appreciate you guys having me on tonight, and have a great rest of the show and a great rest of the year. Thank you.
Well, all right, I meant every word when I say I always appreciate how gracious you are with your time. It's always fun to talk.
It's always appreciate when you guys stop by and cover us. We really like that. Thank you.
Very good. Thanks so much, Kurt. Take care. Kurt Goettemiller, head coach at Marion Local. And, hey, that's a team that they're a tough matchup. And if they get a little bit outside shooting, and I could see them making a deep tournament run. It certainly wouldn't be the first one he's ever made. He's gone all the way before.
No, he won it in 18, and he won it with a team that has many of the same characteristics as this team. He wasn't quite 6'9" back then, but he had some thick kids, some athletic kids, and a kid named Bruns that hit a couple of 3-point shots when they really needed him to send that game into overtime against Coverstone Christian. And then ultimately they won that game and on a couple of critical free throws. So,
well, I would like where I'm
where
I'm positioned if I'm Kurt Goettemiller. I would, I think it's much more difficult to play with the pressure of being up there in the polls like Scott Elkert and Jackson Center has right now. I think that can weigh on a team. It's a special team that does not weigh on. I think it's also good for teams to suffer a periodic loss or two. That keeps you hungry, keeps you working. It keeps the coach's message reinforced and fresh that you're falling a little bit short here and a little bit short here. But if we tidy this up, guys, we can be a really good team. And I like a coach who's been through that pressure before, right down there. Scott's been through it, of course, too, at Jackson Center. And so I just think, we've got some teams, 4 teams I can think of off the top of my head. Miami East, Marion Local. We've got Jackson Center and Russia. 4 teams right there that are, really good. And don't sleep on Troy Christian. They thing about Troy Christian, they really know their roles. And when you've got a player who, when he is on, can get you 30, and Parker Penrod can do that.
He's quick.
I mean, that's a weapon, and they've got some good glue guys. Alex Freeze, a really good glue guy for Troy Christian. Obviously, Ray Zawadski knows what he's doing. So we've got a very, very strong contingent of Division IV basketball teams this year.
Well, I mentioned Tip, but I didn't think you were being exclusive to Division IV. But we've got to really, at this point right now, it looks like, and I don't know how good the rest of the state is.
Yeah.
And I talk to people around the state, and they say there's some good players. There's not a lot of really great teams. But when you add in Division III and a Division II like Miami East and Tip City is, there's going to be at least 6 or 7 teams here that people can get on the bandwagon, follow through the sectional district round of the tournament. You got to believe that there's going to be 2 or 3 of those teams that have a shot at making the regional round of the tournament. You mentioned something about you like Kurt Goettemiller's position. I always think it's tougher. I really think it's tough to have 2 6'9" kids like that because people expect the world. They expect them to be Bill Walton, and they're not. They're 16 years old, 17 years old, and he talks about footwork, and he talks about answering my question about the instincts of playing like you're big.
Mm-hmm.
That's something you learn. You're not born with that. That's not genetic. You have that comes to you through experience, and I think it's tough for kids like Kanapke and Niekamp, and we've seen that before. Austin Parks, for that matter. Where the expectations are so high, people show up and they want to see the big 6'9" kid, and all they want to do is see him dunk 6 times and block 7 shots and just dominate teams. And we saw that the other night. They can be defended too. And I thought he did a good job of talking about how Jackson Center plays defense. And the one thing I noticed the other night, the guards weren't standing at the foul line trying to inlet the pass to the low post. I mean, they were out there 3 or 4 steps behind the top of the key, which makes that pass into the post that much more difficult.
It does. And, you have to make the other defense. You have to make the defense respect your outside game. And I've seen Tate Hess hit shots from outside. So have you. Jaden Mesher can hit shots from outside. I'm eager to see Jack Kanapke this year to see how much he's improved from last year. I saw him last year, as I said, to coach against St. Henry, and I was impressed with how Jack, passes the ball out of the post and also about his footwork in the low post. So I am eager to see him, and Marion Local is a team that I would not count out because, hey, that kind of competition that he talked about, playing Russia, playing Spencerville, playing some of those teams, that's only going to make them better. And you do have to win some of those games at some point in time, but they're having a really good year at 10-3. I'm just saying they're a team that's down there, and there's a lot of attention on Miami East. There's a lot of attention on Jackson Center. I wouldn't sleep on Marion Local because and
I don't think they're going to have, if they played Antwerp again like they did last year in the regional round, I don't think Jack Kanapke would go in there as big-eyed as what he was in that particular game, because he already this year, I see him and he's kind of got that certain air about him. Hey, don't mess with me, because I know what I'm here for, and I know what I can do now that I couldn't do last year.
Well, that's maturity, and you get that as you transition from your sophomore year into your junior year. Now you have your list of the top 6 teams that you have seen this year, and you have not been over yet to Central Ohio to see any of our outstanding Division I teams.
No, you won't let me. You keep me over here.
I do keep you over there because we've got a lot of teams over there that command our attention. But you have Jackson Center on top. Mm-hmm. And you have, I believe you have Russia number 2.
Russia number 2. And Kurt Goettemiller did a very good job a moment ago telling you why I think Russia's number 2.
Yeah.
They have so many guys that can shoot the ball. They really can get up and down the court and transition. And in a period of 2 minutes, they can turn you over 2 or 3 times and put you away, put you behind, and put you in a bad position where it's very hard for you to catch up with them athletically. And Spencer's done a good job there, and he and Brad Francis have done a really good job there of taking that team over with the loss of Coach Borchers, and really putting them in a good, confident position, a good, I think, mental state of mind, given what they've been through.
You have Tip number 3, and boy, you better cover your head when you head to Casstown next time, because you have Miami East at number 4. Something tells me they're not going to love it in Casstown, you having the number 1 team in the state of Ohio, number 4 on your list.
That's all right. They play in Division III. Tip plays in Division II. I will say this, and I said that in my column this morning, that Tip is not exactly playing the NBA Atlantic Division.
Yep.
That's not a particularly strong league, but they've got a couple of guys in Peronsky, and Stanley Klein is as quick as a hiccup and can get off the court. And he just got a really a solid all-around game. I'm not taking anything away from Miami East, but Miami East doesn't play in a very strong conference either, outside of the fact that, they're going to play Troy Christian this week for a second time, Friday night, in fact, and we'll be at that game. But they're very well coached. And again, the one thing that I would say about teams like Russia, maybe Troy Christian, certainly about Jackson Center, is that when they get against a team in the tournament that has that prohibitive 6'8", 6'9" guy from somewhere, you don't know where, Wes Enos, great player. Those guys can score, not just shoot. They know how to score. Jacob Roth, good scorer, not just a shooter. But it all changes when you look in there and you see an Austin Niekamp and a Jack Kanapke, especially kids like that who are experienced and know how to play and use their size.
Well, I'm forgetting now. What year was it that East won the state championship and their ball boy was Dublin Jerome coach Richie Beard?
Well, it was back in the 90s, 90-something, 6 maybe, I don't know. But they had some great runs with Alan Mack back then. I'm not taking anything away from somebody's got to be 3 and somebody's going to be 4. But the fact that Tip is in Division II, and I've seen teams like Piqua a couple of weeks ago try to take Stanley Klein out of the mix. They get physical with him, and he's so quick from one end of the court to the other. And I saw him actually flat foot dunk the ball the other week on a Saturday against Piqua, where he just got off the court and was up above the rim before they realized he had turned and shot. So, he is that good. He's the reigning player of the year in the MVL. And until they run into that team like a Chaminade or somebody like that has prohibitive size inside and depth, if they get somebody in foul trouble where they can play 6 or 7 guys, Tip will be okay. They're a fun team to watch.
And then your final 2 teams at number 5, you have Marion Local, and number 6 is Troy Christian. Now, did Troy Christian edge its way into your top 6 with its win at Tri-Village on Saturday night?
Well, I didn't hurt them any. And the thing that I like so much about them, and I talked to this young man a month ago when I saw him at Russia, Parker Penrod is, you saw him the other night. He is, the amount of work and improvement that young man has done in a year to make his game as good as it is now. Now, he's just a junior, but he is the quickest, maybe the best point guard I've seen in the area this year. I haven't seen a lot of Division I teams that don't get to, but in Division IV and Division III, maybe the occasional Division II, I haven't seen anybody at Sydney or haven't seen anybody at Troy or at Piqua that's as quick and as skilled as he is. When they played Russia, the Russia kids, Russia beat them pretty good by 20 points or better. And every one of the Russia kids said, wow, where did that guy come from? Now, they knew where he come from. They knew Parker Penrod from AAU basketball and his reputation. But he is so skilled and a great kid, works so hard, and just wants to be better. Not worried about how many he scored the other night. I just want to get better before next Friday night.
That's what I was going to mention. Friday night, I was so impressed. He doesn't force anything. He has shots he could take, and a lot of guys who score a lot of points take those shots because, okay, I'm the best player on my team, and you'd rather have me shoot it than somebody else. That's not how he plays. He's definitely takes good shots that are in their offense. He was more thrilled the other night for Christian Brosman having 16 points than he was for himself scoring 19. Yeah. And he had missed the last 3 games Parker Penrod had with a concussion, and he was just thrilled to get back out on the court. He hit his first 4 shots, and they weren't just all threes. They weren't all open jumpers. There were a couple drives, one on the left side of the basket, one on the right side of the basket. He is a guy who can get his. Last year, he had to get his from outside. This year, he doesn't have to do that. He can go inside. He's a very nifty, inventive player around the basket and on the drive. Yeah. Very creative. So, he's going to get better next year. Watch out for Troy Christian next year, man, because they got a lot coming back next year. But, I was very impressed with Parker Penrod and just what a polite young man he is. And that was a fun experience for me to go in and see the Eagles Nest at Troy Christian. What a great facility, and what a great story that is for that school. And it's, 25th year or something like that. So, yeah, good for them.
Parker Penrod, every now and then, and I know you've been in sports coverage for all of your life.
A while. Yeah, a while.
You'll agree with me that every now and then you see a kid where you personally want to talk to him after the game and just saying, hey, I really enjoy watching you play.
Yep.
And I saw him up at Rushi that night and took the time to let him know, hey, you're doing a lot of things right. And he is really fun to play. And of course, he's the perfect example of the age-old argument: which would you rather have, a good big man or good guards? And I've always kind of been in the column that says guards do more for you, can do more for you than what the 6'9" guy inside can do for you, because he doesn't have to play against pressure, bringing the ball up.
Right.
You talk about being a facilitator, distributing the ball, seeing the court. Parker's a good defensive player as well, but he's very good against pressure. And he's, again, you just said he's only a junior, and I know how hard he's going to work over the spring and summer once the season's over. The Parker Penrod you're going to see next year is going to be Phi Beta Kappa compared to what he has been.
Yeah, I'd like to see him get a little stronger physically, and I'm sure he's working at that. That's the only thing I see that could keep him from being a really good player at the Division II level, is just the physical strength. Okay, so there might be a few people watching us tonight and watching us on a replay who are a little bit excited about a guy we introduced them to, I don't know, 7 years ago maybe, a kid named Joe Burrow, who we saw play a final game of his high school career for the Plains High School in Athens. Probably if the Bengals beat the Chiefs on Sunday, we will rerun that column on Joe Burrow's final high school game, which is, until Coldwater won the state championship in the year of the pandemic, the Joe Burrow game against Toledo Central Catholic was the best high school football game I'd ever seen. I give that edge to Coldwater and Zach McKibben's punt return and the game-winning field goal up at Paul Brown Tiger Stadium now. But at that time, Joe Burrow against Toledo Central Catholic was the best game I ever saw. And man, Sonny, what a story the Cincinnati Bengals are. They are rolling, man. And now they get Patrick Mahomes in the AFC Championship game, with Patrick Mahomes having a high ankle sprain.
I couldn't get over yesterday, and everybody by now in the free world and half of Russia knows that they're playing with missing 3 of their starting linemen.
Mm-hmm.
That's all they talked about. And the same line yesterday that I don't know what to think, whether they've improved that much since they almost got Joe Burrow killed earlier in his career compared to what they are now, or whether Buffalo was just having a bad day yesterday. But they absolutely just bulldozed the Buffalo defensive front. They could run when they wanted. They couldn't get close to Joe Burrow. I think they had 1 sack for the game. That team looked like a totally different offensive line than what I remember. And boy, there have been games early in the season when you looked at that line and you thought, man, Burrow's not going to make it through the year.
Yeah, exactly.
But they had everything going for them yesterday. And those 3 receivers they have, and 4 when you count Irwin, are a dimension apart from most NFL teams. I can think of some teams with good receivers when they're all healthy. And the Bengals are all healthy right now. And depending on what you hear about Patrick Mahomes next week, that could be a very interesting reprisal of last year's AFC Championship game.
Here's the thing I don't understand about NFL football. The Jacksonville Jaguars go into Kansas City, and they allow Travis Kelce to catch 14 passes.
Yeah.
Now, Patrick Mahomes had a high ankle sprain in the middle of that game and could not plant on his right foot to throw the ball down the field. The only guy he could get the ball to was his tight end, Travis Kelce. And I do not understand how you can not take a tight end out of a game, and how you let a guy who is like a beer truck with no brakes catch the ball and get a head of steam and then try to tackle it. And if the Bengals allow that on Sunday, I will be bitterly disappointed. I hear a lot about Lou Anarumo, and my friend Chris Spielman loved Lou Anarumo years ago before anybody had ever heard of him. I got to believe the Bengals are going to be smart enough not to let Travis Kelce beat them on Sunday.
Well, you don't know those things until you actually see NFL games. I mean, I can't tell you how many dozens and maybe hundreds of times when I watched the NFL. Now, I did watch the Bengals for most of Sunday's game, but I haven't watched them much all season because I just don't appreciate the NFL culture. Not so much for the fact of the football, it's just the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't know what you're going to see when you watch an NFL game. Frankly, I was surprised at how close Jacksonville made that game. Now, maybe it was because of the injury. I don't know. When Jacksonville comes from 27 points down
that was crazy
against a decidedly better football team on paper, on the field, throughout the year, like they did the week before, there's something about that just doesn't muster. Now, I know a lot of people.
Don't offer a conspiracy theory now.
I have written about this, and people hate it when I call attention to the fact that when there's billions of dollars bet on NFL games, and you come back from 27 down to beat the spread or whatever that is, that happens with NFL games. It's like Scott Van Pelt talks about the bad beat.
Yeah,
well, that was a bad beat.
Yes, it
was. And I don't know. I don't know what you see when you watch NFL games anymore, but you see it a lot.
Yeah, I don't know what the Chiefs Bengals line is. And a lot of times when I call up the line, I look at it and I don't have any idea what I'm looking at because somebody's plus something and somebody's minus something. Kansas City is favored in this game. Patrick Mahomes is going to play. Y'all knew he would. So Kansas City's a 1-point favorite. And they've lost 3 in a row to the Cincinnati Bengals. So I think, I'm not going to say who I will take in that one, but that should be a good game. I'm looking forward to it. And, interesting that you got 2 little markets, Kansas City and Cincinnati. You've got 2 major markets, the Philadelphia Eagles and the San Francisco 49ers, and the Eagles and Niners are the early game. That tells you the star power of quarterbacks, Patrick Mahomes and Joe Burrow, because Jalen Hurts and Brock Purdy do not have the same star power.
I have thought about the city of Cincinnati as being irrelevant all my life. With the possible exception of the Reds during the 70s.
Yeah.
And somehow Joe Burrow is going to fool around and make the city of Cincinnati relevant to the point where network TV has to give it some cred, the team some creds. There's no question about the way he plays is legitimate, because if you've ever been up close to him, and the two of us have, and just heard him speak and just watch that certain mannerism with the way he plays, which is the same, the way Jim Palmer pitched, Koufax pitched, Chamberlain played basketball, the guys that are really, Larry Bird, all of them have that certain swag about them that says, don't mess with me, because really, you're not as good at this as I am. I'll take care of things. And he has that. He really does have that. He's like Nicholas standing over a 15-foot putt. That's what he reminds me of.
You know it's going in. Yeah. When I see Joe Burrow play, the game moves as fast as Joe Burrow lets it move. Mm-hmm. He is totally in control of the game, the way Joe Montana was in control of the game. And it's a sight to behold. I mean, if he has to run it, he'll run it. If he has to make a move in a pocket and get away, he will. If he has to unleash a great throw down the field, he can do that. The kid has got it. And,
got good survival instincts too, because he knows from the moment he gets the snap, if this isn't going anywhere, I'm throwing it in the ground at the feet of a running back, and we'll reset for the second or third down.
It is hard for me to believe that Ohio State would not have won a national championship with Joe Burrow, but I remember they chose Dwayne Haskins because it was impossible not to, based upon what you saw him do when Joe Burrow got hurt. So I can't imagine how big Joe Burrow would be if he had won a national championship and the Heisman Trophy as an Ohio State quarterback from Ohio and then wound up in Cincinnati. That would be quite something. Quite something.
It ain't a bad story the way it is.
No, it isn't. No, it isn't. It's a better story than the Ohio State basketball story, although that got slightly better on Saturday. The Buckeyes are back at it tomorrow night against Illinois. I don't have Isaac Likely getting 18 points in that one on my bingo card, but I certainly didn't have that Saturday either. And Saturday was not a good day for the UD Flyers as they went to George Washington University, or as our Baseball Hall of Famer and PressPros writer Hal McCoy calls it, Foggy Bottom. And they got their foggy bottom kicked by George Washington. But they are getting Malachi Smith and is it Kobe Ellis back in the lineup?
Kobe Ellis is coming back, yeah.
Something tells me that the UD Flyers will be fine in time.
They've been playing without a point guard all year. I mean, it's been a committee. That Sharon Vance guy, 6'9", has done his best. Mike Sharon Vance. The Mongolian, they call it.
What about the Mongolian Mike? What about Mongolian Mike?
That's got to be racist. Now, there's something wrong with that.
You can't.
That gets a pass.
Yeah, it does. Mongolian Mike.
Where's network TV on that?
Are there any Genghis Khan references
I don't know.
In relation to Mongolian Mike?
I don't know. But I agree with you. If those two guys come back, Malachi Smith and Kobe Elvis, they're going to be fine. And, boy, they're going to go nuts in UD Arena if they put a good stretch run, and I don't see why they wouldn't if those two guys are healthy to go with Deron Holmes and the rest of that cast, because they're talented. They're talented, and I think they're well coached, and they're certainly well supported.
All right, Sonny has previewed a little bit of what we have coming up this weekend on the site and the rest of this week on the site. As he said, he plans to staff the Troy Christian Miami East game on Friday. I also know Friday we've got the big Westerville South, Westerville North game.
That's a tilt.
That's a tilt. And we have Olentangy Orange, number 5 in the state, playing host to Dublin Jerome. And I got to wonder, and Dublin Jerome is ranked, I think Dublin Jerome is 8. So we got 2 top 10 teams there in the state of Ohio. Yeah. No, I'm sorry. I got Olentangy Liberty is number 8. And this has got to be a mistake. They've got Lewis Center Olentangy. Oh, that's Olentangy Berlin is number 16. I'm looking for Dublin Jerome here on the list, and Dublin Jerome is not on it. And they're a really good basketball team. And they've only lost like 2 or 3 games.
And which list is that? Whose list are you watching?
This is the AP Division I state poll. Lakewood St. Ed is number 1. Centerville is number 2. Brecksville Broadview Heights 3. Akron St. Vincent St. Mary has to play up this year. They're number 4. Orange is 5. Elder, Fairfield, Olentangy Liberty, Pick Central, Garfield Heights. That's your top 10 in Division I. No Dublin Jerome. That is, as the great Tony Bruno used to say, an outrage that Dublin Jerome is not in the top 15 teams in the state in Division I. Mm-hmm. They have a win over Olentangy Liberty. I covered it. It was quite comfortable.
Well, there you have it.
There you have it.
There you have it. Hey, before we get off here tonight, I want to reach out. Got a very nice letter this week from a young man, or maybe, I don't know how young he is actually, named David Post from Southern Ohio, who he took the time. He said, I'm a Marshall grad, and I appreciate you paying some attention to Marshall University. As you know, they just hired Greg Beals as their baseball coach, and we wrote about them hiring Beals, and he said you said some very nice things about amateur baseball along the river, and he said a lot of us who are involved with that are flattered that somebody noticed from your part of the state. Thanks for doing that on behalf of the kids and the guys down here who have helped develop that culture. So, David, we appreciate hearing from you, and certainly look forward to coming down. Maybe, Ohio State plays Marshall in Huntington on, I think, March 15th and 16th, or 14th and 15th, back-to-back days. And so we'll be down there for that, and feel free to come out to the game and say hello. We'd enjoy meeting you.
Who will you go talk to first after that game, since you are so dialed in with both Greg Beals and Coach Bill Mosiello, the new coach of the Ohio State Buckeyes?
That'll be a game time decision. How about that? Is that a good answer?
I put him on the spot, folks. I put him on the spot.
That's a good. Yeah, I'm the beat guy for Ohio State, but yeah, I don't know. That'll be a game time decision.
You kicked that aside like Gump Worsley back in the day. Kick, save, and a beauty. Very good. All right, that'll do it for this first edition of the Monday Huddle in the year 2023. We are happy to have you guys all join us. We really appreciate you reading the site, publicizing the site. We are excited about our future in Western Ohio because that's where our bread is buttered, in Central Ohio because we got the bread and we got the butter, and we just got to get the butter on the bread and get everybody to know who we are and what we do because there's a phenomenal potential for growth in Central Ohio. We're really excited about what's ahead of us in 2023. And we appreciate all you guys retweeting our content, following us on Instagram at PressPros Magazine, engaging with our content on Instagram, follow us on Facebook, and just thank you so much for the way you guys have embraced our site. And we love what we do, and we'll see you out and about at the games this week.
We sure will. Hey, have a great sports week, everybody. Be safe. Stay off the roads Wednesday night if you can. I'm dying to see if it's going to be as bad as the television stations say it is.
Is it Wednesday night or Tuesday night into Wednesday morning?
Tuesday night into Wednesday. Yeah, stay off the roads if you can, and get all that bread and milk that you probably don't need anyway.
Yeah.
Tomorrow early, so you're all stocked up.
All right. With that, everybody, thanks so much for your time. Have a great evening.
All right. Good night, everyone.